Evan is in Idaho Falls, Idaho. Hi, Evan. Welcome to the Ramsey Show.
Uncle Dave, how are you?
Better than I deserve, sir. How can we help?
I'm here with my wife Tyra, and we got a question for you.
Okay.
We've been on baby step 2 for some months now. We have about $7,000 in debt that we're taking care of, and with a baby on the way,
yay!
And unfortunately, some taxes, we got about another 5 coming down the line.
Okay.
For more debt, and we made the decision together that I'm going to go back to school at the end of this year. So with debt and a baby and school, we are wondering where to focus our money while being on baby step 2.
Okay, it's incongruent for we made the decision to go back to school together at the end of the year if you can't pay for it when you're working to get out of debt. Those two things don't work together unless you can afford to pay for it after you're out of debt. What's your household income?
Currently, just over $40,000.
Okay. And so you need $12,000 to pay off the $5,000 in IRS debt and the $7,000 in debt, and you need how much to go back to school?
With 3 years of school, I anticipate maybe no more than 10 a year. So let's say 30,000 for school.
Yeah, and who's working? You're working during this time?
We will be anticipated full-time school, part-time work. Yes.
And how are you paying for $10,000 a year and paying for your family?
We are anticipating some grants. Now, I guess you should know if those don't go through, getting a loan out for school is not an option for us. So,
what kind of grants? What kind of grants are you anticipating?
I was under the impression that there's some grants out there to help families go to school, and now I don't know the math, but I was going to see if those are available and then do the math to see what it would cost and how much work would have to be done to continue.
Why
education.
school? Why school? I'm just curious. What's the reason for going back to school?
The field that I'm interested in requires a degree.
What field?
And the construction management.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, that's a complete and utter myth. Dave knows a little something about construction.
Lots of people do construction management all day long without the degree in construction management.
You could work your way up the ladder. You know what that
involves? Are you in
involves?
construction?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. So you basically said you think you need a degree. Somebody's convinced you, or you just have this myth out there that you need this degree to lead people in the construction business. You're already in the construction business. So let's set that aside for right now. What's the payoff date? Well, as of before you called, you guys have been thinking through this. When were you planning to pay the 12 off?
Our calculator tells us, what was it, Tyra? You know, to get our debt taken care of.
Roughly.
I think we're looking at 3 years.
3 years to pay $12,000 off?
Well, you know what? You're right. With this with the baby bill and the taxes, that probably is increased by a couple years.
No, dude, you missed what I was getting at. That's way too much to pay off that money.
Yeah. This needs to be a matter of months, not a matter of years.
Yeah, it's a small amount in the grand scheme
no,
of
you're
things.
not going back to school till you're debt free.
No.
And no, you probably don't need to go back to school to do this. So, all of this to say that helps with the priorities a lot. I think you need to do some more. Is a 4-year degree in construction management necessary for you to do construction management? No, it is not a precursor. There's not a licensing issue. There's not a problem with that. You do have to have the knowledge to do construction management. And is that a way to get the knowledge? Yes, it is a way. There are other ways for you to skin this cat. And I would highly recommend you do the other ways because you have a family to feed and raise at this point. But, dude, you need a system where you are 100% debt-free in about 6 months. And that's going to involve like 2 extra jobs. You're raising your household income and getting on a tight budget. If you made $1,500 a month delivering pizza 5 nights a week, which you can do as an example, you would be debt-free in just a matter of months if you threw all of that at the $12,000. And you got to get this IRS, whatever caused this IRS problem, it has to stop. And so that means you're under withholding or something else you did that you can't do anymore. But so here's your hint for the future. We don't need to make decisions that we can't pay for. So we made the decision, I'm going back to school at the end of the year. But we have no freaking idea how we're going to do it at this point, except these mythical grants that you have in your mind that I don't think are out there. I think you're going to have trouble finding those. I hope you can find them, and I don't mind if you go to school and pay for it, but I think you're going through a lot of trouble to try to increase your income, and there's other ways to do that on your career track.
Yeah, first things first. I mean, I tell people this on the Ken Coleman Show. Look, we can pursue the dream once we get financially stable. And oh, by the way, when we get financially stable, meaning getting out of debt, getting the emergency fund in place, and then having a plan to be able to cash flow our getting qualified, you get there faster than if you try to do it this way, which is go to school. And I got to say this, Dave. I got to do a little rant here, and it's quick. But folks, if higher education isn't the only way to do what you want to do or the best way, then don't assume you have to do it. So ask the question, do the research. If I want to be in construction management and be successful, is a 4-year degree the only way to do that?
No.
Is it the best way? I'm not even sure on that one, to be honest with you. I'd have to do some research. I want to talk to Winston, your son-in-law, on that one, because I think if you get in the business and you really figure out from people that are construction managers, why I wrote the book, The Proximity Principle, get around some people, Sean, who are doing this. Excuse me, Evan. I apologize. Evan, get around people that are actually successful construction managers, even if it's a phone call or a friend of a friend of a friend, and go, hey, how would one
How could I
this?
get the information I need without going to get a 4-year degree?
What? Just humor me, friend.
Yeah.
What would it take to get there without a 4-year degree? You'd be surprised sometimes.
Four classes at the Votech School on project management and on construction technique to add to what your knowledge you already have working in the business. You're probably there.
And oh, by the way, you probably could take on another construction job or something in this field right now,
and they
to
would pay for
off the $12,000.
And if it depends on the size of the company, they might pay for
They might.
you to take the classes to become one of their managers.
You bet.
Yeah,
There's another way.
That's your angle. It's not stop your life and hope grants will carry your little family along. That's a scary scenario you're painting out there, brother. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Thanks for calling. This is The Ramsey Show.